All right, let's go ahead and test that microphone. Hello, hello. Welcome to the Sleuth Intuition channel. This is a live event. We are live. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. All right, nothing wrong with the little super tramp, the logical song. One of my favorites. Welcome in, everybody. Some of the things that you can expect from today's live stream: quick discussion on Rex Heuermann, the Long Island serial killer suspect. We'll talk about what's going on with Richard Allen, and we can do a quick dive into Abby and Libby's case, also known as the Delphi murders. We can talk about Evansdale and Flora if you guys would like. But Rex and Abby and Libby's case are the two cases that I will be focusing on. And then we can also talk about anything that you guys would like as well. So some of the things that I wanted to go over relating to the Delphi murders, where we are with Richard Allen's appeal. So as of right now, there's no public rulings from the Indiana Court of Appeals that overturns or modifies Allen's conviction or sentence. Full details of the appellate brief, what all the grounds are, how they will argue them, and exactly when the court will decide are not yet widely reported. The timeline for the appeals court decision is unspecified. Whether the extension granted has lengthened the usual time frame for a decision is still unclear. The appellate issues raised are significant. This is what they would like to accomplish: challenging the search warrant and suppression of evidence. This could strike at the physical forensic evidence used at trial. If key evidence is excluded, it could affect the trial outcome. The issue of allowing other suspects into the defense case touches on the fairness of the trial and whether Allen's defense had a full opportunity to present his version of events. Transfer out of state and claimed restricted access to defendant may touch on the defense's ability to prepare for appeal, which could raise procedural fairness concerns. That's typical, though. You know, even Richard Allen's defense team brought that up, with what they had to deal with as far as traveling and things like that. But there's always reimbursement, and unfortunately, that comes right out of the state's pocket. State meaning you guys over there in Indiana, or whatever cases that your states might be dealing with as well. GP, what's up? Good to see you. Welcome in. So they'll be looking to see if the Odinism stuff should have been allowed. I mean, honestly, I agreed with Goal. It just didn't make any sense, right? You're telling me that because these sticks, well, some of these sticks, they couldn't even really decipher what was going on with the sticks over Libby, right? Nobody has given us a clear answer of what runes those are. But of course, the simplest one would be 3 sticks crossed, right? And every time you hear pro Richard Allen people try to describe them, they use very descriptive words, right? It's perfectly matching Brad Holder, or it perfectly matches his tattoo, or, when really it doesn't. It doesn't match anything. They're not all of equal length. The simplest thing you could find in nature would probably be 3 sticks that are crossed, right? You could drop a pile of toothpicks and you're going to find that. So it'd be interesting if you had that, and then you could look over at the other pile of sticks that was covering Libby and say, okay, yeah, this is obviously another one, right? But it's not. Happy Sunday. Good to see you. So they're going to be challenging all that stuff. But that's where it all comes from. That's not a nexus, right? Um, and then you have the palm print from either Richard Allen or Libby, most likely Libby, because her hands were covered in blood. Why? Because Richard Allen sliced her neck, right? She wouldn't have been covered in blood if he wouldn't have done that. So it makes sense that right where he should be attacking her, right where the evidence tells us, the initial attack is, there's a puddle of blood and a palm print and a victim whose hands are covered in blood. Oh, it kind of looks like an F. Okay, well, that cloud looks like Elvis Presley. Right? I'm pretty sure it's not Elvis, but I mean, it kind of looks like him a little bit. Right? Kind of tilt your head a little bit. So that's not a nexus, right? And even if they could say, well, we've come to the determination that these are runes. This is definitely a Norse pagan signature. Okay. Well, now you have to tie that. Now you have to find a nexus between that to somebody, right? And the group of people that were presented by the defense team, they didn't really prove that. They were so scattered. You got Elvis Fields. People are like, oh, what about Elvis Fields? He wasn't. He was supposed to be at this hospital, but he wasn't at the hospital. They got his phone records, and it's like blah 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 blah. What does that have to do with the Delphi case? You can't even put this guy in Delphi at the time of the murders, let alone the trails, let alone the crime scene. Yet you keep talking about him and what he's doing and where his phone was. He was at a hospital. Oh, well, he lied about the guy he was there to see was actually released on the 10th. It's like, so what? Why are you going off on these tangents over here when you still cannot establish the nexus part, which is the most important part? Why are you just skipping over that? If you're so invested in people like Elvis Fields, Patrick Westfall, Brad Holder, you have to, first of all, you have to destroy their alibis, right? Most of them have alibis, so you have to get rid of those. You have to attack them head on, right? With factual information. You have to completely dismantle them. And you can't, unfortunately, and I'm not trying to badmouth law enforcement, you cannot depend on them to do their job thoroughly. We're all human. We're all lacking in certain areas, and sometimes you can catch us on a bad day, right? Dan Doolin, Richard Allen, nobody made a fuss about that unless they were trying to hide that. I get this weird feeling that they were trying to hide Richard Allen. You know what I mean? You got the new sketch. What's this, Jay? I just got your email, but let me turn it down and see what this is. How you doing, by the way? What am I looking at? Oh, okay. You're just giving me the heads up. Thank you. All right, guys. Well, welcome in. It's good to see everybody. GP, thank you for commenting. Juju, Stephanie, Robert, what's up? Good evening from the first hint of fall this morning from Texas. Feeling all right, Sleuth Tubers. Good to see you, Robert. Yeah, it's good to see that morning dew. I really love this time of year. I love hoodie weather because I run hot. So I like having my face really cold and then being able to wear a hoodie. It just makes me feel cozy. Will painting a whole house this week. Ooh, fun. That's really not my favorite thing to do. So I will check in and listen in as much as possible this week. I appreciate that. Thank you, GP. Dark Side, what up? It's a local in the area that's been covering the list case, boots on the ground. Okay. Thank you for that. So I think what we're going to focus in with Rex Heuermann were his planning documents. What's in those? Why are they not talked about more? And how did law enforcement get their hands on it? And what does it tell us about um, who Rex Heuermann really was as a man? And does it tell us anything about other sadistic killers? I mean, it really is terrifying. We're going to try to soak all that in so some of you out there can get a real idea of what we're living with here on this rock floating through space. People like Rex Heuermann. Rumors are that Rex would go to these private clubs and meet up with other serial killers, right? They were even looking at him for the 4 murders in Atlanta. I think they dubbed that the East Side Strangler case. I guess he might have been there around that time. So, I mean, we're looking at a real life monster. Glam Van, what up? But yeah, as far as Richard Allen's appeal, no decisions yet. But you never know. There could be some things overturned. There could be some modifications to the conviction or even the sentence. Let's see. His legal team has filed appeal motions identifying at least 2 key issues they intend to challenge. Number 1, the denial of motion to suppress evidence, specifically evidence from a search of Allen's home. Well, obviously, right? Get rid of that search warrant, they get rid of the bullet. Where knives, a blue jacket, and a handgun were found relating to the search warrant. Number 2, the trial court's ruling refuses to allow the defense to present other suspects at trial. Goal stating as a distraction and no nexus was established. And I agree with that. I mean, what is the nexus? That Brad liked to make runes out of sticks when he was out, hiking or whatever. That still doesn't mean that the sticks laid across Abby and Libby were runes. Plus, he had an alibi. So first things first, right? Are they runes? You have to build. Everything needs to be built on solid ground. Skipping over that, you're just building everything on the sand, right? It's just going to sink. The more you pile on, the deeper it's going to sink. So you can't just skip over the nexus part, and you can't skip over the foundation, which is, are those runes? It's highly debatable. Nobody can definitively say, hey, look, the blood on the tree is a rune. You just can't say it. You cannot. It's just not clear. It's like saying when you watch the Bridge Guy video, you can see Richard Allen, right? When, he fits the description, but you can't see Richard Allen. Can't really see much of anything. For all we know, his face could be completely covered. Oh, that must be relaxing. I like the fireplace. The cracking of the wood, it's always nice. You can get your hot chocolate, your coffee or whatever. What's going on with you, Dark Side? Was law enforcement hiding TA until they could get forensic data on him, specifically the bullet? TA or RA? Stephanie says state needs a better timeline and his car wheels don't match. Well, their timeline is perfect. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the timeline. When you put it together with Dr. Wallace's testimony about Rick's confession, and then you have these two phone calls that support it, right? These phone calls give you an inside look at what was going on with Rick at that very moment he made that confession. And that's all he really wanted to do. He just wanted to confess, right? And the only time he started backpedaling is when his wife told him, no, you can't do that. That's not possible. It didn't happen. Then he's like, well, I think I did. He's like, okay, well, I guess I can't confess. Time to start backpedaling. So he made two phone calls to Kathy, which show you what kind of state of mind he was in. Seemed fine. Definitely wasn't psychosis. There's even a point where Kathy goes, you're not well. And he goes, yeah, I am. Like the jury must have been like, well, he just said, I am well. That's why it's almost like that's why he was confessing, was because now he was well. When you try to hold something like that in, it can't be easy on you. Jinx says also Alan's appeal will be denied just like Ashley Garth's. I mean, shit, you never know. But yeah, obviously, right? I mean, I would definitely put my money on that, so to speak, right? Was law enforcement hiding TA until they could get forensics? All right, yeah. I don't know what's going on with that, Robert. I have a conspiracy theorist mind. When I think about all the reasons they might have been hiding Richard Allen, because Richard Allen could be pointing at somebody that leads to somebody powerful. Why did that happen? Why did it seem so weird? How did Rick Allen get overlooked? For me, it's like Kathy Shank found something that she wasn't supposed to find. Right? Those little packets remind me of my office days. You run around these offices trying to get shit done, like especially things relating to legal matters. Like you got to put this whole packet together, and you have a checklist, right? And you're not going to get anything done unless you've gone through this checklist, because that's the first thing that when you hand it off, the next person's going to go, okay, well, I need this, and this if you want me to fucking do this. So I feel like that was like a remnants of one of those packets for them, and for whatever reason maybe it wasn't completed or just ended up on the bottom of a pile. So I think it's possible Kathy wasn't supposed to find that. You know what I mean? She finds this and she's like, what the hell is this? Who's Rick Allen? And then you can see that it was sent to Jerry Heuermann. You can just see like this whole weird timeline. It just looks fucking shady. It looks shady, you guys. There's no other way to explain it. This whole time. And then it's not only that, that was the clandestine part of it, right? They kept that in the shadows. And then the shit that they were spewing out to the public, oh, we think others are involved, blah, blah, blah. And then they were saying all this bullshit. But behind the scenes, this is what was really going on, right? Yeah, congratulations, GP. I've been meaning to tell you that. So when people get into my comment section and like, oh, why are you so hard on case by case? Why'd you say those things about that channel? Maybe you can help them understand a little bit. Yep, there you go, Jinx. Are you Googling the tires that come standard on the car Alan drove? Sleuth, I have been thinking about your confession theory and I see your logic. Well, let's hear about it. Let's talk about it. Because nowadays people just seem to want to hear what they want to hear. I do my best to stay consistent and try to make a little bit of sense, right? All right, let's see what else I got here. The defense requested an extension to file their appellate brief, citing the complexity of the case and difficulties meeting with Allen following his transfer out of Indiana to an Oklahoma prison. Yeah, and that seems very convenient, right? But it doesn't mean that it was nefarious. They have an agreement. And I believe their inmate number, their population was way down over there, and Indiana was way up. Hey, sees through. Good to see you. I went with the guard theory, threatening, but I see your point. We can talk about that, Stephanie. Think about it. Who told Brad and Andy that guards with Odinism patches and tattoos were threatening them? Let's see who knows the answer to that question. Who brought that information to Brad and Andy? Who was it? So Rick claimed that he was being threatened by these Odin guards, right? These Odinist guards. That if he didn't play ball, that they would kill his family. So why did he bring up Odin guards? Remember, Rick Allen is the only true Delphi murders expert on the planet, right? Unless others were involved. He's the only one that knows that crime scene in and out. He's the only one that knows the motivation. He's the only one that knows every little detail, all the way from psychological to physical. Nobody knows more about the case than he does when it comes to the actual crime scene. He knows why the sticks were placed there. He knows what's going on with the bloody tree. He knows everything about every bit of blood that it was found on the crime scene, what happened to the girls, the dressing, the undressing, the lack thereof. Why is there blood here? Why'd you do this? Nobody knows more than him. So do you think that he wouldn't know anything about Brad Holder? All of us have been covering this case for a long time. And early on in the case, Brad Holder was called out by Becky Patty. He was my first suspect. So it's only fitting that he was the defense team's first suspect too, because it's just so weird, especially now that you have all this hidden knowledge. Why do you think that they leaked the crime scene photos? You think that was by mistake? They wanted the world to see that what they were saying was true. Right? Look, there are sticks. Look at these sticks. Then they wanted those sticks to remind you of Brad Holder. Like, you remember that guy? You remember Brad Holder, the guy with the sticks and the weird Odin and stuff and the homemade knives, and he's, drinking shit out of a horn, and he's just fucking weird. Oh, you want to know what else? His son was dating one of the victims. So it's like once you hear about the sticks, that was like inside information that only the killer would know. It just ties it all together for some people. And that's what it was designed to do. You have to be cautious. Like, does it really make sense, or is it just really catchy and kind of designed to grab my attention? Can I really connect all of these dots together? Or are there a lot of leaps and bounds that we need to make to fit it all together? And at some point, you have to be honest with yourself. Because honestly, lately, it seems very repulsive to me the more people try to support. If they can't combat all of this solid evidence against Richard Allen, I just don't understand why they're wasting their time trying to stretch information and speculate and be like, oh, well, I don't know. Well, I believe the timeline is flawed because of this, but then not even know anything about what this is, if that makes sense. So a lot of that stuff is becoming repulsive, and I'm just going to rebuke it, honestly, and just kind of go the other way. I spent enough time in the back alleys of YouTube to know that I took a wrong turn. When you have gangrene on your limbs, sometimes you just got, or else it'll spread. Jinx and Stephanie, it's Osbrook, but yeah, sure. Let's rely on him for accurate info. Yeah, it's time to put up or shut up with him. See, he's become one of their leaders, and they trust him, and he loves that trust, but he never shows receipts. So put up or shut up. But they'll continue to listen to him and follow him, just like they did with Brad and Andy. They'll follow him right off the edge of a cliff, like fucking Tremors. That's a good, yeah. That's what they are, Tremors. They hear sound and go crazy. Was it the media? I can't remember. What part? Give me a little more of that comment. Now I'm wondering if he was developing film and drugs from CVS for KK. Well, I mean, it is interesting that he worked right around the corner from him. And then 3 weeks before the murders, he transfers. It's almost like he was trying to distance himself from what they were getting ready to do. And there's much more people diving into this whole CSAM thing, like these child predators and the things that they do online. They know they're 10 steps ahead of law enforcement. They kind of reminded me of teenagers. You know, when we were young, we were always 10 steps ahead of our parents, right? Especially when it came to technology and things like that. I think the same goes for these online predators. They know how to get all their shit encrypted. You know, these links, they're going to get them all encrypted. You have to pay. And maybe they started doing a lot of stuff physically, like, right? Like hand-to-hand transactions. Like, let's not do it digitally. Maybe I'll do it, you know, on a flash drive and go get it printed down at the CVS. And then you physically have the pictures, and if you want to, you can upload them to the dark web or something like that. I mean, think about it. That guy, Norfleet, was living in Delphi. He had photographs of Kelsey when she was a young girl playing with his daughter. And come to find out, he was on the dark web looking up like incest and bestiality and all this sick shit. Nobody knew that. He was right there. How do we know that Richard Allen didn't take precautions? You know what I mean? He's not an idiot. He might try to act like one and seem all pathetic when he's in those interviews. That's all by design. It's all the fool people who are susceptible to that type of manipulation. You know, oh my God, that's the whole sad puppy routine. Yeah, he might be a murderer, but everybody deserves forgiveness. Like, yeah, that would be the Christian thing to do. But I'm only human. You know what I mean? Yeah, what I mean? We should just ask Richard when he gets out. 20. Shit, the way technology is going, you might be able to fucking freeze him like Demolition Man. The guard patches, one of them even had like a rune tattoo. So what I'm thinking is Rick, he's trying to come up like, what do I do? What do I do? And him being an expert on the crime scene, knowing that there's sticks, right? And him following things on social media like the attack of Brad Holder. So he's got all this knowledge, right? He's like, well, I have inside knowledge. I left sticks at the crime scene and a bloody handprint. So as time goes on and he sees people pointing their fingers, you know, he's watching the Sleuth Intuition channel. He's like, oh my God, look, that does kind of look like the crime scene. So later on, 6 years go by, he's arrested. He sees these Odin tattoos, and he's always thought, well, I have all this knowledge about the crime scene and the weirdness that was going on with Brad Holder. I'll just kind of spin that, I'll throw that angle at my defense attorneys. Once he saw those Odin patches and that guard with the tattoo, I think that's when he came up with the idea. He's like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go this path. Because he's had so many years to just think about what he would do. And he's just like all of us. He's been following the Delphi case. Oh, well, we can't find his phone, or we can't. You don't know if he has a burner phone. You don't know if he has a laptop that he hides at work. Like, you don't know shit. Stop assuming that you know all these things, or he might have done this. Why would he do this? None of that shit matters. Why would Rick Allen do this? He's a family man. Well, why the hell would any killers do the shit that they do? Like that. I just hate those kind of questions. It's like you're trying to make everything fit into your narrative. So you come up with this crazy speculation. And I'm not saying don't speculate. But if you're trying to convince yourself and others that Rick Allen is not involved, you cannot be doing that shit and have people respect you for it. Prof read KK's interview last night. KK is truly a sick pedo. Yes. That's common knowledge. Person you're referring to that read KK's interview raised a now convicted child predator. Yeah, it kind of reminds you of TK a little bit. You know what I mean? And the apple not falling too far from the tree. Jinx, anything is possible if you know the right people. All right, let me pull something up from the Long Island serial killer case real quick. We're at about a half hour mark, I think. Let me see where we at. Yeah, a little over 36 minutes. All right, let's try to dive into the mind of this fucking guy right here. I mean, I was going through all these documents the other day and I was just like, oh my God. I must have repressed all of this. Okay, here, let's put this up on the screen too. Are you guys all familiar with this case? You're saying that Richard Allen or possibly KK knew the People CVS employees to remotely monitor the photo kiosks? Well, I used to work in a 1 hour photo. It was a lot. It was like around year like 2000, 2001. They do keep like an inventory, but it's only a count check. Like they don't monitor what's on the actual. They leave that up to the discretion of the person running the. And I'm sure there's ways to turn that off or to use other machines. Because you can use a physical printing machine, and then you can use another machine where you can kind of put in your memory cards and things like that, flash drives and CDs or DVDs, CDs, whatever. Like there's nobody that's monitoring the actual images there. At least from the way I remember it. Didn't Richard Allen develop? Yes, he did. And he didn't charge them. So you're able to do that. Like we used to do that shit all the time. Because you have these big machines, and all you're really paying for are like the supplies, the paper, and the chemicals that you have to put in it. And then that, the machine mixes it all up for you, develops the film. It's all pretty much expendable, but there's a clicker, and it keeps track of every photo that comes out of that machine. So they keep inventory, but I don't think they're monitoring, the images themselves. Yeah, the photos that Libby's Aunt Tara requested to be presented at Libby's funeral. Didn't that start a controversy with Julie Melvin? Don't you remember that? Or, oh no, her friend took photos inside of Libby's funeral, I believe, of the casket or her in the casket. That might be it. Don't quote me on that. Something like that happened, and it started a big beef between the Patties and Julie Melvin. There might have already been like a preceding beef going on there, but at least in relation to what happened to Abby and Libby. Yeah, and that could be true, Jinx. Like I said, when I was doing that, it was around 2000. When Rick was doing it, it was 2016 and or no, 2013, 14, 15, 16 and 17. Yeah, there you go. Jinx says no, Melvin took pictures at the wake of Abby and Libby. I knew it was something like that. Melvin absolutely took pictures at that wake, and she claimed it was because she talked to a psychic. She was trying to take pictures of people's belt buckles. Oh, yeah, that's right. She came on my channel and explained this. I should go back and make that into a short. She also said she wanted to document the people that were there. Chester 22. Curious to see if Andrew McGann could be involved with Delphi. It seems like a real possibility. Why do you say that, Chester? Like I said, we don't have to focus on one case or the other. We can bounce around and we can talk about anything else. Any news that you guys want to bring up, we can talk about that too. Rex Heuermann, a longtime resident of Massapequa Park on Long Island, worked as an architectural consultant. He was arrested on July 13th, 2023. Man, think about that. 2023, and we still haven't seen the trial of Rex Heuermann. They're still investigating this guy. In connection with the string of unsolved murders of women whose remains were found along Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach and surrounding Long Island locals. Heuermann is now charged with multiple murders, initially 3, then expanded to potentially 6 or more, of women, many of whom worked as escorts and whose remains were found bound and in remote dumping sites. He has pleaded not guilty so far, and much of the investigation remains ongoing. All right, let's get into this here. Here, I can close that down. During the investigation, authorities executed a search of Heuermann's home and business-related computers and storage. According to court filings, police recovered a large volume of electronic equipment. For example, at one point reporting 27 computers, 58 internal hard drives, plus dozens of tablets, USB devices, SIM cards, and other media. The key planning document, was discovered in March of 2024 on a laptop hard drive in the basement of his home in an unallocated space, meaning the file was deleted, but forensic software recovered remnants using computer forensic extraction. The document was identified as a Microsoft Word file titled something like HK2002-04, something along those lines. Appears to have been originally created in the year 2000 and then modified in 2001 through 2002. After the discovery of the document, investigators returned to search the basement of his home more thoroughly, using infrared light to detect adhesive or markings on the wall, and searched wooded farmland near Manorville, where remains of victims had been found. Let's take a look at these documents. Crotch shot Julie. What the hell is that? What are you talking about, Caesar? Crotch. Melvin is trash who accuses her own nephew without any proof. Streets of Bakersfield. Is the live with Justin Woodhouse still up? No. Streets of Bakersfield. Apparently it caused some controversy. Maybe even some threats. But for whatever reason, I got a call from Justin and he said, hey, man, this seems to be causing a lot of problems for me. Can you take it down? So I took it down. But sometimes when you take things down and people still have access to a link, certain people can still access it. And anybody that he shared that link with could access it. So then he called me back and was like, hey, people are still grabbing it. I don't want them to screen record it. Can you delete it? I was like, yeah, I don't mind. It's just the name of the game. Just got to be careful. But yeah, he asked me, hey, can you take it down? I took it down. Then I got a bunch of emails from people that knew him and people that were being affected by it. I was like, damn, something in that interview people did not want out. And I don't know what part. We could speculate and say maybe it's the Keegan Kline stuff. Right after Brandon put up this video on YouTube about how McClellan put Keegan Kline up in a hotel with Holly. It gave him a bottle of champagne. And then the next day, he gave him Rick Allen's name. Like, hey. And that's when he gave his confession. So for whatever reason, that might have been illegal, right? So if they get Rick Allen's name from a fruit of a poison tree situation, it won't be admissible during the trial. So they got to kind of hide that and go shift over towards this lost tip narrative. And I'm not even saying Kathy Shank had to be involved, right? They could have planted that. And if they had to throw a Hail Mary to get to the point that they are, I understand why they did it, but still, if it's not legal, it's not legal. Yeah, he's a disgusting pig, Stephanie. Listen to the shit he did to these women. Viewer discretion is advised. Let's start there because this is deeply disturbing. And I literally read this on a live stream and I must have blocked it out of my memory. So if you can't handle disgusting shit, some of this is really disgusting. It's the only way you can describe it. Chester, Andrew McGann was from Chicago area. His targets were little girls. It will be interesting to see if his DNA is matched to any of the trail murders over the last 15 years. Well, where's Andrew now? Is the question. Yeah, Stephanie, stuff like that happens all the time on our channel. We just don't go around broadcasting it. So if you go through like some of the old videos, you might find some gems. We just don't go around bragging. We like to let things happen organically around here. And that is why I will never live in a small town. Little ditty about Jack and Diane. Two American kids growing up the best they can. Life goes on. All right, check this shit out. So I don't know if I have these documents in order, but this one's titled, starts with body prep. Now listen to this. These are women, some of them mothers. This is what he's doing to his victims. Wash body inside and all cavities. Like, what the fuck? This dude is planning and prepping his murder, his future murders, the way I do like a camping trip. It's so weird to see this. Remove trace evidence, fingerprints, hair. Remove trace DNA. Remove ID marks, tattoos, marks. Well, how the hell do you remove tattoos? He's not using some kind of medical equipment, right? He's not laser removing them. He's cutting them right off of their body. Remove marks from torture. If that doesn't make your stomach turn, I don't know what will. Remove marks from torture. All these girls that he's accused of killing. Think about what they went through and what he did to them after. And he can sit up there and plead not guilty. Remove head and hands. Okay, this is something I was very curious of and may have been misquoting on my channel. Let me see if I can find the article. Yeah, let's ask ChatGPT. What percentage of murder victims are dismembered by their killer? And what does it tell us about the perpetrator? Let's see if they cite some good articles here. Okay, it says here, dismemberment is rare among homicide cases based on multiple forensic and criminological studies. Between 1 and 50 in 500 homicides involve dismemberment. 50 to 1 in 500, sorry. Depending on region and classification. What dismemberment suggests about the perpetrator? Criminal profilers and forensic psychologists divide motives into 3 broad categories. C. Douglas and Burgess, FBI Behavioral Science Unit. So that's the source of this information. And we all know Douglas, right? He's a big, firm believer in intuition. Yep. It's very interesting what's going on with him. I don't know. He might still be in jail right now. Something going on with his kid and him them serving a search warrant or something on his home. I was reading some documents on X earlier. It might have been this morning or last night. It's going to be interesting to see people use that to try to tie him further into the Delphi murders. There's a lot of bad people out there, right? Doesn't mean that they're responsible for this particular this crime. They could be monsters. They could be despicable, disgusting human beings. Doesn't mean they're the disgusting, despicable human beings that we're looking for at this very moment pertaining to Abby and Libby's case. They could be attached to something similar unless we can find evidence, right? And never stop looking. You never stop looking because any one piece of evidence could change everything on any of these cases that we're looking at. Just the fact that I have this platform and this channel, you guys, family members of victims, victims themselves, they reach out to me constantly. I'm talking to people from all over the world. I'm gaining insight, trying to figure out ways that I can help them better, things that I do wrong, things that I should do more of. I'm constantly communicating with people. So a lot of the times when you see my channel go into like a certain direction, it has a lot to do with what's going on behind the scenes, which is a lot. And you guys never really get to see all of that. But it's all good. It's all good. Like I said, we like to let this channel grow organically. We don't want to really, I don't know how to put it. Let me go to this comment here. I could go take a piss in the middle of the bar down the street and no one would ever notice me. There are 40 million people in this county. No one knows anyone else. I don't know. There's this whole small town America thing. Friend of a friend. Then you got Facebook. Got all these small towns that are only like 20, 30 miles away. Different schools, people mingling, sports, events. I don't know. I feel like everybody knows everybody somehow in these small towns. They may not know you by like looking at you, but then when you start going over like who your family is, like, oh, okay, now I remember you. You just look like shit now. But yeah, I remember when you used to run around here. What the hell happened to you? Oh, I got into some meth. I got the old meth tooth. You know how that goes. Package for transport. Did he have packing label to DAM? I don't know. I felt like he was keeping his nose clean. When I interviewed him, I was like, dude, you're all over the fucking news. Like, you look like shit on paper. You got a felony and shit. Like, it's going to be easy for people to pin you as the bad guy. And then now he's like going through this. It doesn't help. It doesn't look good. And I don't think anybody should be standing up for anybody or any of that, right? But does it tie him to the Delphi case? No, it doesn't. I was born in a small town. I'll probably die in the same small town. I come from a small town, but moved to the city when I was really young. But all my family and they're all small town. All right, let's see here. Criminal profilers and forensic psychologists divide motives into three broad categories. Let's start with one: defensive or concealment dismemberment. See, I thought this was more common, but it does say here most common. Purpose: to hide or transport the body or slow identification, cutting off head, hands, tattoos. So this reminds me a lot of a local case, the Emily Pike murders. They still haven't found her arms and legs, I believe. they can't. I don't think that it has to be somewhere dumped nearby where they found the rest of her body. But what can we learn about that type of behavior from somebody? And why are they doing this? It sounds so morbid and extreme. Let's see. Often occurs in domestic or acquaintance killings. So what does that tell you? That definitely separates the defensive and concealment dismemberment from whatever the fuck Rex Heuermann was doing. He's like, he's on a whole nother level of sick. Usually after death, minimal mutilation otherwise. Psych profile, pragmatic, fearful of detection rather than sadistic. May not have prior violent history. Example, spouse killing, landlord, tenant disputes, accidental killings, cover up. So you didn't plan the murder. When it happens, that was just the best you could come up with to dispose of your victim. Number 2 is offensive aggression dismemberment, driven by rage, control, or sexual compulsion. I think that's what we're dealing with here with Rex. Often occurs while the victim is still alive or soon after death. Look, torture, marks from torture. Remove head and hands. So here, driven by rage, control, sexual compulsion, often occurs while the victim is still alive or soon after death. Body parts may be posed, taken, or displayed. Look, packaged for transport. In a way, that's kind of like it being displayed. Posed, taken, or displayed. Packaged for transport. Treating human beings like cattle. What's up, Jari? All right, let's read on here. Dispose of the following. I don't know what it is about reading this. It gives me chills. Tools and devices, right? Have you guys ever made a list? Have you ever made a list like this? It looks like he's getting ready to go on a vacation, right? Let me make sure I write this, and that. I don't want to forget that. Things that you just kind of plan it out like an itinerary. This is his murder itinerary. Tools and devices. Like what tools? That reminds me of, let's see, where is it? Dennis Reynolds. Thought I had a short clip. Where are you at, Dennis? Oh, yeah, here it is.
That stuff you're grabbing.
Tools! Duct tape, zip ties, I
have to have my tools. Like what tools? Devices. Right? Burner phones. T1 clothes and personal items. Drop cloths, wipes, and towels. Props, toys, wood items. What the hell is that? Not lately. Dark side. Anything that touched T-1, what you wore, destroy book and computer files, right? Looks like you didn't do a very good job at that, dumbass. Thank goodness, right? These guys always think they're smarter than they really are. Dispose of box of plastic bags, I think, to avoid trace. Now listen to this. Sound travels. For example, bird outside. Control the amount of air in and out to control the noise made. So this is giving us some insight into the mind of a sadistic psychopathic killer and how they evolve. So he's creating this list. This isn't his first list. He's adjusted this list. And he's making this list based off of the mistakes that he's already made, victims that he's already killed. So he's like, not only have I killed a bunch of people, I'm going to go ahead and get better at it. I know what I'll do. I'll make a list. Right? So these are some of the mistakes he must have made. Control the amount of air in and out to control the noise. So he's almost using that as his indicator, how to measure. Okay, how much noise is going to escape this torture dungeon? Well, that depends. How much air is coming in and out? Sound is going to travel where the air is traveling. The fact that he knows that tells me that he's made a mistake, or there may be other potential witnesses that don't realize it yet. Right? Get sleep before hunt. Too tired creates problems. So this, I can't help but think about what he was doing on Gilgo Beach. Oh, sorry, guys. Okay. So yeah, also Shannon Gilbert, right? Didn't it seem like during her 911 call, it was as if she didn't want to go outside because she thought somebody was going to kill her out there. And then sure enough, she goes outside and she takes off running, is found where other women have been dumped. I always wondered, if is it possible that when she went outside, somebody like Rex Heuermann was just waiting for her, maybe in some kind of costume? Because you hear what he says here, right? Props, toys, wood items. Like, what the fuck is he doing? What do you need? Props, toys, wood items. And then he calls it a hunt. Get sleep before hunt. Too tired creates problems. So, did he get too tired? Was he unable to catch Shannon? Right? I was too tired. I couldn't keep up with her. And then she eventually just kind of died out there. Probably drugged, dehydrated, lost, cold, scared. He says hit harder. Too many hits to take down. So this is him making the mistake and evolving into a more efficient killer. Right? Don't hit him in the chest, in the arms, in the back, in the legs. Hit him as hard as you can, right to those very vulnerable areas, right? Nose, jaw, eyes, throat. He says, consider a hit to the face or neck next time for takedown. So he's kind of giving us a window into how he's committing his crimes. And it's terrifying, right? These girls are already doing something that they don't want to do. There always seems to be some kind of a drug addiction, something, they took a wrong turn in life. And you got this sick, sadistic person. I mean, just look at the information we've gone over. Hunting these women, torturing them. And after he tortures them, he's just dissecting them like cattle, packaging them up like meat. Let's see what else. More sleep and noise control. More playtime. Doesn't that make your skin crawl? What is playtime for this guy? Torture. Remove marks from torture. That's his playtime. With his props. With his props and his toys and wood items. Use push pins to hang drop cloths from ceiling, not tape. So this is him committing a murder and using tape to hang his cloths, his drop cloths, and realizing that that didn't work. That wasn't a good idea. They all fell. Came too heavy, right? They get wet, filled with blood, much heavier than when he probably tried it without it. Use heavy rope for neck. Light rope broke under stress of being tightened. So who did this happen to? Who did he strangle so bad that the rope broke? In what world do you need to strangle somebody that hard? This shit is crazy. Let's see. Take down, pick up. Hunt too long, seen an area too long. Remember, don't charge gas. You idiot, don't charge gas. Right? Paying cash. Recon. So this guy went and did the recon for video cameras in pickup area next time. So he's learning from his mistakes. All right, here's like page number 2. He says problems. DNA, tire marks, blood stains, fingerprints, plastic bag. He needs plastic bags for something. I'm not sure what this MO is. Cat litter. So that must be to absorb something. So what I'm thinking is he wants to put something that might be bloody in the plastic bag with the cat litter. Not quite sure. Kitty litter is something that you use also when you go camping. Some people do that to cover if they go to the restroom out in the woods. Witness, trace source of supplies, foot, shoe prints, photos. I don't know what this is. Misleaders? Police stop, truck stop, fingerprints in gloves. Damn. That's thorough. Plastic bags matched to box. Hair and fiber. And that's what ended up being his downfall. That's how they caught him right here. Yeah, this guy spells worse than I do. Supplies. Booties. We're lucky they caught this guy. Like, he was really not trying to go to prison for what he was doing. Lie. Acid. Basically eats away at the body all the way through the bone. So he'll dig a shallow grave, put his victim in there, and dump lye and acid over. Police scanner, rope, cord, saw, cutting tools, hair nets, photo film, burn can, probably for the clothing maybe, foam drain cleaner, body wash, wipes, tarps, drop cloths, medical gloves, bags, tape, large electric clips, ratched cargo strap. What the hell? Pre-prep, vehicle inspection, engaged. What is T-1? Recon DS-1. Wonder if these are his victims. Weather report, recon video cameras, recon pickup zone for video cameras. So this is his short list. Prep, setup stage, holding air, setup stage. Holy shit. Set up stage, holding area, build table, crossbars, hard point. What is he like, crucifying them? Destroy file, change tires, burn gloves, dispose of picks. Picks? What's he doing with the picks? He has an extensive dark web history that was recovered during a search. He is all over the dark web. Look at this shit. Dispose of the pics. He documented it. This could even be like a lost angle of the Delphi case. You know, the whole snuff, dark web, creating a product for people like Heuermann. Like, think about it. Rex, if there was a video made of what happened to Abby and Libby, that's something that Rex would be searching for on the dark web. Or even uploading. Spur of the moment cover, Stockholm syndrome. So he has so much experience with victimizing people and holding them captive that he has experience with Stockholm syndrome. That shit is real. Listen to this. The more you do, the more clues you give. So he's trying to manage playtime versus his risk of being caught. If he could play all day, it sounds like he would. But unfortunately, it's too risky. And what is this? Look at the painting. What painting? What, why, who? That I'm totally lost on that part. And look at this shit. Organized versus disorganized. Right? That's the criminology. He's doing his own criminology. It's fucking weird. Page 162, sex substitution. Page 163, mutilation, disorganized. Man. Here, let's take a look at his internet searches. And then we'll leave. We'll chop it up for a little bit and then we'll leave. All right, where did I put you? Okay, there it is. Actually, we'll talk about two other things. We'll talk about his internet searches and then his infatuation with the happy face killer, Jasperson, Keith Jasperson. So I'll try to be quick. Where do I? Oh, the affidavit. I think they're in the the arresting affidavit, the probable cause affidavit. Yep, here they are. Okay, so remember, he's taking photographs of his victims. Something that we've speculated might be going on with the Delphi murders. So he's on the dark web and the internet looking at this shit here. So his online persona was Thomas Hawk. There's the cell phone number he was using and the email address. Hawk 080672. That looks like a date of birth. Let's see. A search warrant revealed that the Thawk email, Thawk, associated with the burner cell phone. So we got burner phones being used with this crazy persona. Thawk was used to conduct thousands of searches related to sex workers, sadistic torture related porn, and CSAM including this list here. Mistress, Long Island. Mature escorts, Manhattan. Girl begging for RAPE. Teen girl begging. Pretty girl with bruised face. Torture, redhead. 10-year-old schoolgirl. What is this, hentai? Plump, cut off, lips cut off. The vaginal, skinny redhead tied up. Short fat girl tied up. Asian twink. I don't know what that is. That might be transsexual. Tied slave. Girl hogtied, torture porn. 10-year, look, he's into 10-year-olds. 10-year-old blonde, chubby 10-year-old. Black girl 10, girl with face beat up. 13-year-old schoolgirl, Abby and Libby. Blonde hair girl, young, depressed. Like, what is this? And it goes on. Old janitors, gangbang, little schoolgirl. That sounds like some shit Kagan Klein would be into. And I mean, it goes on and on and on. He searched, why would law enforcement not trace the calls made by the Long Island serial killer? Why hasn't the Long Island serial killer been caught? Unsolved serial killer cases. America's 5 most notorious cold cases. 8 terrifying active serial killers. John Bitroff, spelled it wrong. Megan Waterman is one of his victims. Melissa Bartholomew, one of his victims. Maureen, one of his victims. Looked up cops launch Gilgo Beach Homicide Investigation Task Force, mapping the Long Island murder victim. So that's just an example. So before we get out of here, let's take a look at a letter that he wrote to another serial killer, the Happy Face Killer. Keith Jesperson. You guys know who that is? So why the hell is Rex Heuermann pleading not guilty, but yet he's calling a known serial killer for advice? Please explain that. Okay, let's see what you guys are talking about here. Maybe. Yeah, it's very freaky. Makes my skin crawl. Because we have no idea what those girls went through. It sounds like he loves to torture. C3 can't spell for shit. These murders are bound to be recorded, sadly. Yes, what's he doing? If he's somebody who surfs the dark web and he's also documenting his murders, I think there's a good chance that he was exchanging some of that stuff with other killers like Keith. That could be the reason why he feels so comfortable reaching out to him. He's like, I know who you are. You're basically me. And he's probably been exchanging material with people like Keith for a long time. That's why he's comfortable reaching out to him. Plus, he's been in and out, or he's been through the system, right? He's probably anticipating that he's going to get convicted. So he probably wants a pen pal to help him through that process, kind of give him advice, how to adjust and things like that. And also, he was a family man, so he ended up kind of getting some advice on how to travel that avenue. Being a serial killer or being an exposed serial killer and how that affects his children. That's another reason I believe he reached out to Keith. Because shortly after he reached out to Keith, Keith's daughter went and met with Rex Heuermann's family and kind of consulted them and helped them. And they set up a GoFundMe and kind of was like a liaison through that whole process. Yep, I think so too. I think he had some profiler books he's through. I think he had John Douglas's book. He had another FBI agent's book. It's in his probable cause affidavit. Do they know how many people he did this to? No. Like they're even looking at him for the East Side Strangler. Or is it East Side or Eastbound? Might be Eastbound. All right, let's read this letter. Keith. And look how he kind of whips that T with the H. Interesting. First off, I would like to say thank you for your letters and advice. They have helped to comfort. They have helped be a help and comfort to me. I do understand what you have said and take it to heart. Being only a month and a half into this, as you know, I have had a lot to think about. Right now, I need to get a few things in order, which the lawyers are working on. You were right about letters. I have gotten a number of them asking for interviews, to be friends, pen pals, and to buy and who sent me 3 letters asking me to write back. It's odd. I'm having trouble reading this. And his collection of letters. To add to his collection of letters. You are the only person who I have written back to and plan not quite sure what this is. No, I have gone into great detail. I am not sure if my mail is not being read. I did have one officer make a comment to me that he knew you were writing to me. So it sounds like OSP is not such a bad place to be. Do you have butter for your bread? How was the day and day food? I will admit the food is not much to look forward to each day. Also, Yard is just walking in circles outside. I do understand what you have told me. Also, that timing is important with this process. I am working out the timing. Next court date is 9/27. As I understand it, this is just the conference court date, so do not expect much to happen. I have not even seen the discovery yet at this point. I am sorry if I took so long to write back to you. I know I should have done it sooner. The main thing I wanted is to say was thank you to you and yours for the letters and what has been done for mine. Thank you, Rex. Jeez. Oh, man. So, guys, we're going to hang out for maybe another minute or two. If you have anything you would like to add to the conversation, speak now or forever hold your peace. Some pretty creepy stuff, though, right? How you doing, Jari? All right, guys. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. And if you need to get a hold of me for whatever reason, you can always email me at sleuthintuition@gmail.com. And everybody else, I'll stay in contact. I'm still editing a couple videos behind the scenes, so hopefully I can put those out for you guys. And I'll stay in contact with you guys. Replay crew, you know what to do. Leave a comment. We'll get back to you. Everybody else, take care. Thanks for joining me for the live stream, and I'll see you soon. Peace.